Hello, everyone. I'm Cassandra Michael, the founder of Heal Anxious Attachment, the Hub, and I've got Emma Hull here with me today. Hi, Emma.
Hi, Cassandra. It's lovely to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, Emma is a rapid transformational hypnotherapist specializing in breakups and relationship preparation. She supported hundreds through her one to one work and thousands through her group programs, helping people move through heartbreak quickly and rebuild their capacity for healthy love. Most of her clients go on to attract a secure, aligned relationship within only a year. She also specializes in free me EFT energy healing and life coaching and has been a professional in the therapy industry for 10 years. Today, we're going to be talking about how to heal from a breakup when you're anxiously attached. I'm really excited, Emma. Thank you so much for being here.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to dive in.
So let's begin. I'm curious, and I'm sure so are the viewers right now. Why do breakups hit anxiously attached people harder than others?
Oh, well, breakups don't just end a relationship for the anxiously attached. Breakups actually reactivate their abandonment wounds, which are stored in their subconscious. So while secure people lose a partner, and that can be hard, anxious types, they feel like they're losing their entire source of safety and self-worth, and their nervous system literally interprets the breakup as a survival threat, because in childhood losing connection meant losing protection. So they're not just grieving from the present, they're actually reliving every time in the past that they felt unsafe. And this is
Yeah.
why most of the time it feels extremely difficult for the anxiously attached. Hmm.
Yeah. And is that the real reason an anxious person can't stop thinking about their ex, or is there something else happening behind the scenes?
Okay, so the obsessive thoughts aren't just about the love that they've lost. It's about incomplete danger signals. So the anxious brain treats the ex like an unresolved threat that needs constant monitoring. So, checking your phone all the time, or viewing their Instagram stories, or just laying awake at night worrying if they're going to meet somebody else, if that partner's going to change for somebody else. So it's the same safety protection layer that makes you check like a locked door 5 times. So in
Mm-hmm.
their subconscious programming, keeping the ex in mind equals staying safe from abandonment. So those thoughts are actually a coping mechanism. They're trying to solve an unsolvable equation, because their minds have got open loops, and they're trying to find closures. They're trying to find answers, basically. Answers they can't get from their ex, especially if it's an avoidant ex, where they just tend to ghost and disappear. So it can leave the anxiously attached looping and ruminating and
Yeah.
obsessing. And this is all normal. It's all totally
Yeah.
normal. And the avoidant can feel like this too.
Yeah. And so I think this tendency to obsess and loop is just an attempt to create regulation, right? So if I figure it out, if I think about them enough, if I get the data that I need, then I will feel calm again, right? So
Yeah.
the brain is trying to sort of attain this type of sense of peace and calm and regulation, I think.
I mean, the anxious mind is trying to solve an unsolvable problem from childhood. It's like having a computer virus running the same program over and over again. If I can just figure out what I did wrong, I can prevent this abandonment from ever happening to me again. But since the original wound happened when they were usually before the age of 7, pre-verbal, really, no amount of adult logic can compute this answer. So the mind just keeps spinning and looking for solutions that don't exist in the present because the problem is actually in the past. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I really resonate with that. And I'm sure a lot of people experience that also when they're, let's say, dating someone and they don't receive a text message, or they have this perceived a sense of rejection or abandonment, right?
Mm.
So this is also a tendency that happens even before breakups, when there's just that, oh, are they going to leave me? Am I safe? And so on.
Yeah, it's
Um,
their mind's default setting, and this was programmed many years before they was even old enough to date. So this is why these thoughts come from nowhere. You can meet somebody and have a lovely connection, and then as soon as you walk away, you're thinking, "Oh, but what if I'm not pretty enough? What if they meet somebody else?" This insecurity is usually stemmed from a very early age. So it's so important to go into the subconscious mind and break that at the root, break that pattern of thinking. Because it doesn't just make
yeah.
them overthink, it makes them really anxious inside, and it can
Mhm.
sabotage their relationships. And also, like, when they lose confidence when they meet someone they like, this
Yeah,
abandonment wound
100%.
kicks in. Mm.
Mhm. And what is something that they can do instead?
Mhm.
So, how can they calm these obsessive thoughts, these looping thoughts when they're experiencing a breakup?
Okay, so there's many ways to do this. I mean, we do have around, they say, like 70,000 thoughts a day. But when we're going through a breakup, it tends to be a lot more, or at least it feels that way. And we can't we can't stop thinking, right? It's impossible. That's what the mind does. So when we try to fight the thoughts with our when we try to fight our mind and fight the thoughts, they increase all on their own. So because we have so many thoughts a day, it's important to stop and observe and go into the body, and we can always tell how what we're thinking, the quality of our thinking, to how we're feeling inside. And because emotions are, there's less of them, it's easier to work with an emotion than it is with 60,000 thoughts, because not every thought becomes an emotion. So it's all about, I would highly recommend, if someone's like really spiraling right now, is to just close their eyes and go into the body and ask, like, what am I feeling? Oh, I'm feeling anxious. Okay, I'm just going to allow this to be there. I'm going to allow this emotion to be there. And basically, emotions usually only last 90 seconds in the body. But when it's attached to old pain, which breakup pain 99% of the time usually is, it can take 10 minutes to release that emotion. And we have so many layers to our emotions. But when we sit with the pain, rather than thinking, oh, I don't want to think this, I don't want to feel this, we're actually creating resistance. And when we create resistance, it gets louder. Like children, if we ignore them, they get louder. So we have to go inside and speak to that younger part of us and say, oh, darling, I see you're feeling anxious right now. It's okay. Allow yourself to feel that, and just sit with yourself and give yourself loving words of affirmation until the emotion clears. And when you clear the emotion, the thoughts relax, the nervous system relaxes. So that's one thing you can do.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
beautiful technique. Thank you for
Mm.
sharing. So, what's one thing that keeps anxious people stuck after heartbreak?
Okay, so this is a really good question, and I believe that it's their belief that healing means getting answers from their ex. So that we convince ourselves that if they just knew the real reason why this broke up, or if I just got proper closure, then I can move on. But that's the anxious attachment talking. So always looking outside for safety. where the truth is closure is an inside job, and the answers that they are seeking from their ex are actually in their own childhood programming. And there are practices that you can use to get closure from your ex. And usually when we
Mm-hmm.
ask our ex to solve this inner turmoil, we end up with even more questions from what they answer us with. It doesn't stop. So they might say something and we think to ourselves, oh, but what did he mean by that? And then we have another question and another question. So it's very important to find that closure from within.
And how can you do that? How can you start to find this closure? Maybe you can mention one of your favorite or most effective techniques.
Yeah, sure. So what I can recommend doing is finding a quiet space on your own and closing your eyes and imagining that your ex is sitting on a chair opposite you, and you're able to say whatever you want to them. So you can do this with your eyes open or closed, and you just basically start with, you made me feel, and then just carry on from that. And just keep talking and keep expressing and telling them everything that they did, or all the things that you wish they'd have done and didn't do, or all the things that you wish that you would have done and didn't do. And keep that dialogue, that line of communication open. You can cry, you can scream, you can swear, just get it all out. And then you change positions. So then you sit in the chair and you are your ex answering you as your ex, and just say the first thing that comes to mind, whatever you think they're going to say. And sometimes it's not even about them. It's our mind has the ability to argue with itself. So when we're releasing all of these words, it's releasing the emotions, just like journaling. And we're getting answers from ourselves, but we're visualizing them. And you can keep doing this. You keep going back and forth. So you become them and then you become you again. And then sometimes you can bring a third person in, like a mentor or a coach or your best friend. You can jump into their body and speak to the both of you as them. Sounds complicated, but I have a free audio to help people to do this if they wanted it.
Oh, amazing. We can make that free audio accessible on the Heal Anxious Attachment site as well.
Yeah, sure.
I'll definitely, include the links here so people can
Sure.
access that. And yeah, that's a really beautiful example of chair work and just how we can, give a channel, for these suppressed emotions and thoughts, an outlet, right? So we can just
Mm.
express everything that's on our minds and get that out. And
It's
yeah,
so
when you said
important.
that you can bring in a third person, I've done this exercise once with the third person being God, being
Yeah.
maybe the divine masculine or the divine form of our partner. And yeah, that can also
Oh,
be a powerful addition.
that's beautiful.
I love that exercise.
Mm.
Thank you for sharing.
That's beautiful. Mm.
And yeah, so would you recommend no contact for anxiously attached individuals? Is that a good
Mm.
strategy for processing a breakup and getting over their ex?
Um, I think it's important to go no contact, but it's incredibly hard for the anxiously attached people. Um, because it's hard because their brain interprets no contact as abandonment confirmation, like holding their breath underwater. And my top 3 tips for that would be, first, to create an urge surfing practice. So there's going to be times when you just want to reach out. There's going to be times where you want to check their Instagram. But what you have to think is that every time you check their Instagram or every time you pick up that phone to text them, you're basically pressing the reset button on your heart. So when you set a timer for 20 minutes, you can let the wave pass. So when you get that urge, you might be drafting text in your notes app. And then instead of sending it or thinking about sending it, just set a timer for 20 minutes and just wait for that urge to pass. Because basically, when we're going through no contact, we are going through a chemical withdrawal. And under an MRI scan, there's a region of our brain that lights up when we're withdrawing from a drug. It's called the reward center. And the same part of the brain lights up when we're going through no contact. So you've basically got to treat your ex like an addictive substance. So you've got to think every time you check their social media, every time you call them, you're just resetting that clock every time. And I know it's extremely difficult to do. It's one of the hardest things that we can do. Your body's going through a withdrawal. You're going to feel cramps in your body. Some people even like shake. They're dreaming about them. It's extremely hard. But after the first 30 days, that urge to contact does subside and it does get easier. And I've also got a whole course on this as well. I've just created, especially for people going through that. Yeah.
Amazing.
Mm.
And so is the no contact, does that also depend on the nature of the relationship? So if it was a more maybe healthy relationship, then you can, attain closure differently and you don't have to necessarily go no contact, or is no contact just for toxic relationships, for
Mm.
all relationships? What would you suggest here?
Mm. If it's a toxic relationship, definitely no contact. It's got to be done. You're protecting your peace, you're protecting your heart. But when it comes to an amicable split, this this can be quite challenging. If the split's amicable, what I can recommend is doing conscious distancing. So I don't recommend speaking to them every single day. Possibly you could be speaking to them 3 times a week. I would cut that down to 2 times a week. And then the following month, cut it down to once a week. Because what can happen when we have contact with our ex, when we stay friends with our ex, usually there's one party that wants more. And what can happen is that when we're friends with them, we hear all about what they're up to, what they're doing, and who they're doing it with. And then this can play on our mind. And if we're secretly hoping that that person will see the error of their ways or realize one day that they've made a big mistake, if we're actually waiting in the wings for them, that is not healthy at all. But conscious distancing, especially if you've got children or if you work together or, there's still a good friendship there, that would be the way forward. Just cut the conversations down, but don't share too much when you speak to them. So maybe talk to them like you would a work colleague. It will feel really weird at first, but what can happen over time? You start going into the old patterns, like calling each other babe and forgetting that you're friends, and the lines can get completely blurred. So you have
Mm,
to watch
mhm,
yourself
mhm.
with that. I mean, use your own
Yeah.
discretion, each to their own.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. It's almost like tapering off a drug, right?
Yeah,
So instead of like going cold turkey, you're just like minimizing the dose. And then
exactly.
at the end, you're like, oh, I don't need this anymore.
Exactly. That's a
Mhm.
fantastic way of putting it. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay. I love that. And so you already mentioned some techniques to come back into the body to process like these heavy emotions around the breakup.
Hmm.
And what is one way that people can start rebuilding their sense of safety when they feel abandoned?
Mm. This is a really good question. So, what I would recommend is to think about a time when you felt really safe. And for each day, for 10 minutes a day, even if it's 5 minutes a day, meditate on the feeling of safety. So basically, what you could do when you feel unsafe in your body, allow that feeling to be there. Like the practice I explained before, allow that feeling to be there. Don't resist it. That need for safety, that want for safety, that feeling of ungroundedness. Allow all that to be there. Do that for about 5 minutes. And then for the further 5 minutes, envision what safety feels like in your body. Think of a time when you felt really safe and meditate on that feeling. And as the days pass, it's going to get easier. Of course, when you're going through a breakup, you've lost your safety net. Your mind has identified your ex-partner as as your tribe, as a safety mechanism. And when they're no longer there, it feels like you've had the rug pulled out from underneath your feet, and it can make you feel really unsafe. So we have remember, it's like safety comes from within. No one can really give us safety. We can feel safe with some people and not others, but the feeling of safety comes from within. So it's just increasing that visualization and consistency over time. It will get easier and easier to do, and then it becomes your natural state after a while.
That's such a beautiful practice. And I think it's something very beneficial to do in general, right? Because anxiously attached individuals have the sense of feeling unsafe in the world and their nervous system is on high alert. So
Yeah.
I love that practice
Oh,
and I think I'll try it myself as well.
it's
Hmm.
beautiful. It really is beautiful. And just to reiterate, all you have to do is close your eyes, stop and observe the emotion, and just allow that emotion to be there. Wait for it to pass without trying to change it, without judging it, resisting it, which we all tend to do, especially if we've got really busy lives. And just allow it to be there, and then replace that feeling of wanting safety with actual feelings of safety. I love it. And you can use it on any
Yeah.
emotion.
Yeah, amazing. And for those that maybe struggle to find that safe place,
Mm.
especially if they've experienced a lot of abuse, I think maybe they can just visualize somewhere in nature, right? Or a
Mm.
place that just makes their soul feel safe and at ease. Because sometimes I have that also with my clients, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know what to think of," or maybe their home wasn't safe, or so I think, yeah, just a place in nature
Yeah.
that where they feel happy and at ease.
That totally
Mhm.
works. Yeah, you can think of also like your front room. Maybe you have like a lovely front room where you put your coffee mug there and you've got your television and you've got your cat and you feel really safe. You can just envision that environment, and that's going to give you the feeling of safety also. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, love that. And so
Mm.
what's the biggest lie the anxious mind tells you post breakup?
Okay, there's many. I think the main one is I will never find love like this again. There's no one out there for me. I've missed my window. I'm getting too
Mhm.
old. The anxious mind confuses intensity sometimes with love, and that dramatic push pull, that constant uncertainty, the emotional roller coaster, that can often feel like love, especially romantic love and what we have been shown in films and in fairy tales. But that's not always necessarily true love. That can be seen sometimes as trauma bonding. The anxious mind is actually terrified of real love because real love is calm, and calm feels like death to a dysregulated nervous system. You know, it could feel like boredom.
Yes, I do. Mhm,
So we
mhm.
can reject
Well,
those
is that
partners
why
too.
mhm,
Yeah.
the safe partners always seem a bit
A bit
boring, right?
boring. Yeah, and a bit, "Oh, is this it? Surely there's more out there," because we're so used to that roller coaster, that those butterfly feelings. So we
Mhm, mhm.
can actually reject partners because they're too safe as well.
Yeah, well, this is a whole other discussion, but it's so
Yeah.
interesting, and maybe you can just speak to, like, briefly, how can somebody start rewiring that pattern of not wanting, or not feeling attracted to safe partners, seeing them as boring? Is there a way that we can start rewiring that?
100%. Yes. So basically, the process is finding the root cause of why somebody pushes safe partners away. What is the root cause to that? And also training the nervous system on what healthy love looks and feels like. If we've had a pattern of behavior for 20 plus years, we can't just use conscious tools like saying affirmations over and over again, um, or reading self-help books. We've got to go to the cause. We've got to go to the root cause, and that lies in the subconscious mind. So why do we subconsciously reject safe but boring partners? And why are we attracted to exciting but toxic partners? And how do we get familiar with that calm and that safety of a securely attached partner? So we have to have a look at what's causing us to be attracted to these types, and it's usually because we've been been brought up in a home that's chaotic, and from that chaos we learn that love is unsafe, that love is inconsistent, or that love leaves. So we have to go to the root cause and reason for why we believe that, and that happens in the subconscious mind, that happens subconsciously. And then we have to create new patterns of thinking and believing, because it all starts at the belief, because belief creates
Mhm,
the feelings determine our behavior, and from that behavior we take action, and that's when we get our results. So if we have a belief system that says love is not safe, love is inconsistent, then we're going to possibly want to chase it, analyze it, check up on it, um, reading texts over and over and over again, decoding hidden meanings, looking for a threat. Because if something's coming too easily, we might think, oh, well, um, this can't be real, or I'm not good enough to have this. If we come across a partner that's absolutely perfect, our nervous system may go into overdrive and reject them because we feel that we're not good enough for them, or we're going to get abandoned anyway. So let's reject them before they have a chance to reject us. So it's so complicated. We're
mhm,
such complicated creatures, and every single client is different. But the subconscious will tell you exactly what you need to know. And I can share practice on how to do that. You can basically just ask a question like, why do I analyze the texts that I get from my dates? And then you can tap the middle of your forehead and then repeat, I let go of trying to understand this and allow the universe to reveal its meaning. And then you just basically let it go. You can't think about it. You can't Google it. You've just got to let it go. And then within minutes, sometimes days, that answer will come to you. Oh, it's because my dad left when I was 7, and I'm trying hard to prevent that from happening again. So it can be something like that.
yep.
So we have to rewire that, the
Wow,
subconscious.
that's
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's a big part of the work you do, right? Helping people just rewire these patterns
Yes.
and really get to the root
Yes.
cause.
I call it the
Mhm.
mind's hidden heartstrings because we all have these subconscious saboteurs that um either cause us to attract certain types or we show up in certain ways that sabotages relationships. So I call it the mind's hidden heartstring because they get pulled when we're in certain relationships. So we have to go to the root cause, these belief systems, dismantle all the beliefs that cause us to feel a certain way and behave in a certain way. Because when we change the pattern of the belief, it's going to change the end result, the outcome. It's going to be much more favorable. We're going to feel safer in our body. We're going to feel more confident. We're going to believe that we're good enough. Mm.
Yeah, I love that.
But-
So, after a breakup, people with an anxious attachment style often feel worthless because they've tied their sense of self worth to whether or not they're in a
Mhm.
relationship. And there can be these feelings of collapse after rejection. What are three ways to handle the collapse that comes from rejection when they're no longer in relationship? And how can they navigate that?
Okay. So, firstly, recognize the collapse is your nervous system going into freeze. It's actually it's trying to protect you and it's not permanent. So, move your body, even if it's just shaking your hands or doing wall push ups. Or I find this is very helpful, like butterfly brushes across the arm. This relaxes your nervous system. But what I could also recommend is just taking every single step as it comes and don't look at the whole staircase. Just take every step as it comes because one day you will turn a corner.
Yeah, beautiful. So many amazing techniques that we've
Yeah,
discussed today.
just the tip of the iceberg.
Um, I
Hmm.
know. So another question that I have here is how does somebody know that they're healing and not just distracting?
Okay, this is a really good question. So you'll notice that you're healing when you go around 3 hours without thinking about them and you didn't even realize it. So distraction feels manic, constantly doing, achieving, and possibly going on dating apps, swiping, constantly looking at your phone on Instagram. Um, these are all distractions, but healing is when you can sit alone on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday night and feel complete without any urges or uh, compulsion to pick up that phone and check their social media. Healing feels calm, feels spacious. So you know when you're healing when their name doesn't make your chest tighten anymore.
I love that. That's a really good tip.
Mm.
Um, and how can somebody tell the difference between wanting them versus wanting relief from anxiety?
Okay. The best thing to do is to ask yourself, if I felt completely safe and whole right now, would I still want this person? I mean, usually the answer is no, but the anxious system wants the drug, not necessarily the dealer. Okay. So you can test this when you feel like desperate for them. So do intense regulation work first, get yourself calm, and then see if you still want them. So when you're really calm, you can use the practice that I shared earlier. Get yourself nice and calm, and then ask yourself, do I
Hmm.
really, really want this person? Because 9 times out of 10, once the anxiety is gone, so is the desire.
Yeah, that's so true. And something I sometimes ask my clients is, why do you want to be with this person and what do you like about
Mm,
them? And often, if it's like a toxic relationship, a dysfunctional relationship, they'll say something really vague like, they're nice, they're a good
mm,
person. Right? And there's no substance in the answer of like, they really took care of me, they were present, we had great conversations, we had shared values, we laughed together, right? When I asked them, like, why do you really want this person? They would be like, yeah, I don't know. They were nice
mhm,
to me. There's something really
mhm.
surface level. So I think that can be a useful question to reflect on as well.
A lot of us in the world are recreating our childhood in our adulthood. And a lot of the time, we're trying to make amends, and we're doing that in our adult relationships. We're getting into relationships subconsciously thinking, if I can get this person to love me, then I am worthy of love. And this again all starts from when we are very young. So it's basically going back and
Yep.
healing that inner child and reparenting that inner child and telling her, wow, you are good enough. You've always been good enough. You don't need to chase, work, or beg for love. Love is your birthright, and allow it to come to you
Yes.
when the time is right. And it's easy for me to say sitting here because I've been that anxious person in love. Um, it's difficult, but I wish I knew then what I knew now, because you can become secure. You don't have to suffer. There's help out there, and the technology now and the healing modalities that are out there now is so powerful. They're so powerful. It doesn't have to take years to heal. It can take months now.
Yes. Totally agree.
Mm,
And so, as we're starting to wrap up this
mhm.
conversation, I have one more question. How does somebody know that they're ready to date again after a breakup?
Okay, this is a really good question. It is different for everyone, but I guess when you can genuinely say, I'd rather be alone than be in the wrong relationship. Because if we're dating to fill a void, we're not coming from a place of wholeness. Practically speaking, you can go on a date and not compare the date to your ex, then I would say you're ready to date again. When you're like genuinely curious about getting to know someone versus trying to fast forward to security, then you're ready to date.
Wow, beautiful. That's such an
Thank
amazing
you.
response. So, wrapping up, what would you say to someone who thinks they'll never meet someone again?
Okay. If you're going through a breakup right now, especially if it's a difficult one, you can't believe your thoughts right now. You have to question them. Because at the moment, in the early stages of a breakup is usually below 3 months. Your body is filled with cortisol and epinephrine, the stress hormones, and this gives us very black and white thinking. And when we're in that state, we often catastrophize, think the worst, because it is a depressed state. So you will love again, but it's very important in the beginning stage of a breakup to just not believe what your thoughts are telling you and treat this time, this crucial time, like an illness. If you was ill, if you was genuinely sick, you wouldn't rush yourself to get well if the doctor said you needed rest. If the doctor said you needed like 3 months of rest before you can go back to work again and function again, you wouldn't question it. So why force yourself to heal quickly? But I understand it's a really challenging time. It's a really hard time, but just know that what you're going through right now is an awakening in a seed form, and when you get to the other side of the pain, it's like a chrysalis turning into a butterfly. In the chrysalis stage, it's dark, it's mushy, you can't see out of it. But what you don't realize is that in a short few months, you're going to be flying out of that cocoon and you're going to be soaring. So hang in there. Don't give up.
Amazing. Yes, I love that. And I really hope the listeners can connect to your energy and feel that hope and faith and enthusiasm, because I know it can be hard when you're in it, right? To see the
For
light at the end of
sure.
the tunnel. Yeah. So, Emma, this was absolutely amazing. There's so much value here, so many practical tools. So, for those of you who really resonated with what Emma said, you can find her contact details on the hub on www.healanxiousattachment.com, and you can reach out to her. She's currently taking new clients, and I can wholeheartedly recommend Emma. She's absolutely amazing.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this
Yeah.
conversation. Thank you for having me. Bye.